Hello and welcome to Instant Transmission, a podcast where we discuss everything Dragon Ball and whether or not Krillin waxes his dome. Tonight, we've got Fusion Reborn ready to rock as we continue down the chain of original Dragon Ball Z movie releases. Pour yourself a bowl of jelly beans and prepare to do some synchronized dancing with your best bud as we get ready to do a deep dive into tonight's episode. I'm your host, Dayton, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Todd.
Hi.
Tonight's episode will be more of our thoughts and opinions, this time covering the 1995 movie release called Dragon Ball Z Fusion Reborn. This movie had a limited theatrical run in the States alongside Return of Cooler back in 2006, which I thought was an interesting pairing. So with all that covered, was there anything you wanted to add before we got things started, Todd?
One of the other things that I think is interesting about this movie is that the fusion in here was released. So this movie, I think, was released right before the fight with Super Buu with Vegito, shortly there before. And Akira Toriyama was going to use the fusion dance to fight against Buu, and because it got released in the movie, he had to come up with a completely different version of fusion in the Patara earrings, which is just wild and hilarious to me that's why we have two different forms of fusion.
Can you imagine stepping on Toriyama's toes just that way you can jam another movie out the door?
It's absolutely crazy to me. They're like, oh, you have fusion in this show? Or in the manga, we're going to use that in one of our movies for another character because it's cool.
All right. Well, with that little tidbit out of the way, we jump into the beginning of this movie with King Kai rooting for Goku in his match about to begin with Pikkon in Otherworld. And unfortunately, we don't get to see any of that match because as soon as it gets introduced, we flip away to go deal with something else.
Yes. So we basically switch over to King Yema at the check-in station for the other world. And there's we're kind of shown a big line of spirits that are being processed and checked in. And particularly, we are shown this machine that processes and purifies all of the bad souls, the souls that are basically going to hell. And they have these big tanks where the souls, all their negative energy gets poured into these tanks once the souls are purified. And because of this negligent demon, this demon kid who's basically rocking out to a bunch of music, not paying attention to his job, the tanks overfill and explode. And he's going to get the worst of that explosion here.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept that they it's a cleansing machine that washes the souls of, they called it spiritual waste. And I don't mind the idea of this, but are we taking these people and removing like their negative attitude and what makes them bad and then sending them to hell after that? Like, because that seems kind of cruel, doesn't it?
It is interesting. Like, I like this concept quite a bit, but also it poses so many questions for how this whole process works for the afterlife.
Yeah, like it does introduce some questions, but the idea of this machine is actually pretty cool. But like you said, this machine gets overfilled, it explodes, and this negligent worker begins growing wildly and becomes this weird, big, yellow demon-looking thing. And on top of that, this new evil thing decides to start icing over or crystallizing this check-in station, which is causing the gate between the world of the living and dead to open up. And we see that the earth is going to be flooded by the dead.
Yeah. I mean, this, I like that this movie, it gives us a premise. It starts out real fast here. We kind of get like a familiar setting of like Pikkon and Goku fighting in the afterlife. We are then later, well, as we kind of like understand now that the gate between the realm of the living and the dead is kind of jumbled, and we basically get to see a bunch of the dead in the world of the living. We get to see like an old man who's come back from the dead, there's like a vampire who was killed basically coming back, and in particular one very iconic figure, I guess, in a military soldier, wearing some very iconic outfits.
I like how
With
you're dancing around this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, let's just be frank. It's Hitler. It's Hitler.
Yeah. So
I don't
anyway,
know.
Hitler gets introduced, which
Yeah.
it's also not the first Hitler reference in Dragon Ball. So this isn't new to us, but this is just literally him, though. I don't even think it's a reference. I think it is just your boy back on Earth doing what he does, being evil, right?
He's got the mustache. He's got even in the dub, he's got like a German accent. He's trying to take over. And with all of the dead unleashed onto Earth, basically Videl gets called in and she gets Gohan, Goten, and Trunks to come help her beat up the walking dead effectively.
I will say, with the I feel like there's a missed opportunity in this Videl scene, though. I actually would have liked her and Chi-Chi to have a longer conversation than what they did, because they kind of isolate themselves for like a moment, and Chi-Chi makes a jest at marriage and a family, which, that's funny. But I would have liked to have seen an actual conversation between these two characters, because I feel like Chi-Chi does have an interesting background that could really open up Videl's eyes, I think, to I guess their world a little bit more. Like, I feel like Chi-Chi would have a unique perspective that maybe she could share.
That's a good point. That's actually not the route that I thought that you were going to go with, like, the missed opportunity. Yeah, I would love to see them talk more. I think in the anime, we mostly just get to see Chi-Chi kind of like, she's basically telling Videl off initially, where she's like, stay away from my son.
Well, then remember, she realizes that Videl's father is loaded, and so she becomes much more pro this relationship.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, it would be nice to, like, we kind of touch on getting to see Chi-Chi be like a more motherly figure and push marriage, but it would be nice to kind of see more of that. I thought actually where you were going to go was the undead being unleashed and like Gohan going to confront them, because we do get a little bit of a sequence with Frieza and Gohan, of course, recognizing Frieza, and then, one punch manning him.
Yeah, I'm going to gloss over most of the undead scenes, because every time we go there, it's just, it's some slapstick, like punching some zombies, or Hitler going around doing Hitler things, or, just some weird stuff. But yeah, the undead have been released on the Earth. We're going to gloss over it because they're just kind of causing trouble. But we do go back to Otherworld, where we see Goku and Pikkon have gotten a call from Yema, and they show up at the check-in station, finding it completely enclosed by this crystal-like barrier, and they're unable to break it. They launch these ki attacks. They bounce off it without a scratch, basically. But they also find, moments after testing this crystal, that the big demon creature, which is saying its name, I guess, Janemba, is sitting on top, almost kind of bouncing around like a toddler, like somebody who isn't all there, if that makes sense.
He's like a Pokemon. He's basically he says his name and he's bouncing about. He looks kind of goofy and cute, but one of the things I really like about this sequence, though, is Goku in particular. Like, maybe it's in contrast to Dragon Ball Super, but I really like how animated Goku is and how excited he is about being like, this thing's really strong. Like, you want to fight me, don't you, buddy? You want to fight me?
And honestly,
so good.
It doesn't feel inappropriate here either, because there's been some moments in Super where he's acting that way when just the stakes don't feel like he should be acting in that manner. He's somewhere where he can go all out, man. Like, this is some really strong guy. He's somewhere where there's probably not really anyone else who's going to get hurt. As far as he knows, like, his friends and family are fine. Like, this is just, he can go all out and there's nothing holding him back. So this is a super fun moment for Goku.
Yeah. I really like this a lot. And Goku's even like angling to be like, PyCon, you deal with the barrier, I'll deal with the demon guy. And he basically does so. Like, I mean, Goku is kind of like a goofy, he's sometimes childish and playful, and he uses that here to kind of be like to cater to and connect with Janemba, who seems to be very childish, and Goku kind of like draws him down off of the check-in station down into hell so that he can have a fight with him.
And so they do. And Janemba starts off this fight with something I didn't expect. He places his hand on the ground and begins summoning dozens of like miniature versions of himself, kind of reminiscent of like Cell Juniors, but like not as gross. And he swarms Goku with just a pile of them. They actually like create a mountain of little Janembas on top of him until Goku's able to kind of break out of it and quickly dispatch them. But I like that right off the bat. It's kind of setting the tone with this Janemba character that he's kind of different than maybe other villains we've seen, especially throughout the movies.
It's really cool because he's not only just like summoning these creatures, it looks like he's almost like transmuting material into something else. And Goku kind of has this attitude of like, oh, this looks like it'll be fun. And then these things are really strong, and as they dogpile him, he has to actually like, he doesn't go all out, but he has to try not to get his butt kicked from all of these creatures.
And from here we do get some more fighting some undead happening, but we also get Trunks and Goten collecting the Dragon Balls, which apparently was not that hard, barely an inconvenience, because they find one and then they show them summoning the dragon. So it happens like, I don't know, in 5 seconds.
I will get to it towards the end. I will say that I like that the Dragon Balls here they're basically ineffectual, because they pretty much summon Shenron and they're like, hey, can you get rid of these undead people? And he's like, I could do that. I could send them back to hell, but they're just gonna come back because the barrier is broken and I can't fix the barrier. It's one thing I don't like is that they just kind of arbitrarily decide when something is within Shenron's power and when it's not, which apparently fixing the barrier is not within his power. But I'm glad that he can't just solve this problem for them.
This is something I wish they would roll forward, is putting more limits on Shenron, because I like the idea of when everyone's kind of weaker, the world's much smaller, of Shenron feeling very like godlike in power. But as the world got bigger and as our heroes got stronger, I almost like to see his power kind of wane in comparison as we kind of move on to bigger things. So, or something. Then again, I'm just going back to, we need to fix the Dragon Balls. The Dragon Balls break everything. I think that's what I'm getting at.
I think you and I have both kind of been saying that for quite a while, and I obviously agree. I would be perfectly okay with them giving more limitations to his power. I just wish it weren't so like arbitrary. It just feels kind of random when he can and can't do something.
But going back to the real meat and potatoes, PyCon figures out that the barrier can't be hurt by his blast, but it can be hurt by mean words. And I'm going to spoil things a little bit for you. This doesn't really mean much, even by the end of the movie.
It's a good point. Like,
also, why?
It kind of feels like obviously it's a gag, right? It's like, okay, well, you can't just use brute strength, but you can use harsh words. But it just
Here's
doesn't.
My thing. All right, so let me get my soapbox real quick. I would have liked the opposite of this. So if all this stuff was made out of pure spiritual waste, bad energy, if you say nice things to it, causing it to break, like hitting it with good energy, would feel like a nice little contrast.
That's a good point. And yeah, it does feel like it's out of nowhere. It's of course for a gag, like especially making PyCon do it, who's such a serious character. That is the gag. And I will say I watched it dubbed. I don't know what the Japanese dialogue looks like for PyCon, but the dub dialogue for Pycon giving like harsh words to the crystal is real bad.
I mean, uh, I I don't know what to expect. It's one of those things where I don't think there's a way to make this sound great. So, but I mean, I think I'm with you where maybe it could have been better.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean. I do like when this comes up later, but it doesn't end up really resulting in much of anything. Um, but this basically turns into, we kind of switch back to the fight with Goku and Janemba, and this is where things kind of start to get interesting on the fighting side of things, because we start to see more of Janemba's powers as he basically takes these like big crystal jelly bean things that he's created in hell, and he'll throw them almost like telekinetically, throw them down at Goku and catch him in a pile of them, trying to like crush him. And then Janemba will basically just bowl his big rotund body into the jelly beans, trying to knock him over. And then he continues to basically knock Goku around with these teleport punches. He basically sticks his hand through these portals and can extend those punches and kicks elsewhere.
This is where I started liking Janemba, because he's doing interesting things. Even the way he's fighting, like when he hits Goku before the punches, he's doing just open palm slaps like an enraged toddler. I love it. And then when he's doing the portals, that's an interesting dynamic that Goku has to learn to deal with, right? Like, how do you stop punches that could literally be coming from anywhere? And on top of that, it kind of solves maybe the issue of Janemba just looking weird if he starts like martial arts fighting somebody. Like, that wouldn't feel right to me, I don't think.
No, absolutely not. This is the part that I really start to enjoy the fighting bit here, because we start to see the different types.
And the animation's actually not bad through here either.
I think it's pretty good. The impact feels good from the punches. Like, one punch is like Janemba's massive fist, almost like crushing Goku into the ground. And yeah, getting to see like this big creature just knock Goku around bodily is pretty fun. There's one point where Goku like uses a ki blast against one of the punches, and it goes through the portal to blast Janemba, even though his arm is basically like portal disconnected. And it's really cool, which kind of turns into Goku using a Kamehameha against Janemba, to which Janemba creates another Goku, like a Goku clone in his hand, and copies the Kamehameha. I don't know. Janemba's got weird powers, but they're really fun and engaging.
And in a way, it's almost appropriate, because he's a weird creature that spawned from weird circumstances. So I'm kind of okay with him just doing all this kind of oddball stuff that you wouldn't expect. It feels appropriate here. And I mean, gosh, we've talked about this so many times. There are characters like Jiren who don't have any personality to their fighting. Janemba's the opposite of it, where it's almost like he has no real backstory, no real character written for him, other than he's kind of a toddler. But the way he fights feels so well thought out for what should be a throwaway character.
I'd almost rather have the latter. Like, Janemba to me is way more interesting than Jiren will ever be. And there's no story behind Janemba. It's, you were born of bad soul energy. That's the story.
Well, things escalate pretty quickly here, because Goku actually pops on the gold and heats it all the way up to Super Saiyan 3 just a moment later. So Goku's going all out, because I think that's his highest form at this point. And wherever this falls in the timeline, I have no idea. They never explain anything.
Well, yeah, we'll kind of get an idea here soon. Like, it's clear that it's like around the Buu timeline, because we've seen Videl with Gohan in like his high school age form, and we've seen like Kid Goten and Trunks. So we know it's roughly in that time period. We also know that Goku's dead, right? Like, Goku has his halo, which he did at the start of Buu, and by the end of Buu, he was alive. So it's like, it's such a weird placement in time.
Yeah, the more you think about it, the more it just kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit, where it's like, all right, I guess it's somewhere in here ish.
I think he even, actually, funny enough, even when he turns Super Saiyan 3, he says to Janemba, like, the only person who's made me use this form up to this point is Majin Buu,
Oh
which
no.
is
Oh no.
wild, which almost implies that Goku has fought, like, Fat Buu or regular Majin Buu, but has not yet fought and beat Kid Buu. But again, the movies are kind of their own thing. They're in a weird space and time.
Yeah, and well, Vegeta's. Oh, never mind. I'm going to be spoiling some stuff if I say that. But a certain
Well,
Prince of Saiyans we find out later is dead at this point, so that also makes the timeline interesting.
yeah, it would have to be after he sacrificed himself, right? But
Yep.
before he gets brought back.
So we're working with a very specific spot where it could happen, but also a pretty well documented spot of what should be happening in that time period.
Yeah. I gotta say too, Super Saiyan 3 Goku fighting Janemba is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Goku just beats the snot out of this big jelly bean monster. I mean, it's fun. Like, I gotta say it. I like it when Goku styles up on guys, and this doesn't disappoint. Like, you see just the impact of all of his blows just like cratering the big monster. It looks so good.
It's real fun. Like, he literally is just giving he lifts Janemba off the ground with a flurry of punches and just continues to like punch him into the sky. Which he turns into then going above Janemba and delivering it. It almost, well, I don't want to spoil the next movie, but it looks like a technique used in the 13th movie where he just like comes down and punches into Janemba and thrusts him into the ground. And then he takes these two like fists full of ki blasts and rams them into Janemba's face, to which point like Janemba's body just deforms and turns to jello as he's crammed into the ground. It looks awesome.
It looks amazing. Just like that dive bomb technique with the two key blasts. That felt very unique to this movie. Like, I can't really think of where, because we've seen people get dive bomb. That's not new. But just Goku just clutching a key blast in either hand as he dives them deep down into his opponent. I freaking loved it. Like, what a cool technique. And then after, like, the result of that, where Janemba's like writhing on the ground in weird pain and as he turns into like a goop, also really interesting. Like, this movie has a bunch of just cool storytelling moments and interesting things happening. Like, I don't know. I'm impressed with the movie so far up to this point. Like, it's definitely exceeding my expectations.
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. I mean, this results in effectively a transformation from Janemba as his body turning into like this full, almost like liquid that coalesces into a much smaller, more compact form, and completely changing colors. What was this sort of like tan and almost like light purple kind of toddler looking demon now turns into this maybe much more traditional demon look with like these deep reds and purples and these like long curling horns on the top of his head, and he has a much more like kind of lean, muscular and sinister look about him.
Yeah, this feels very. It's almost like when Frieza went to his final form, were kind of compacted down into something that's a little bit more menacing than what they were before. And Goku starts his battle against the new Janemba, who is much more serious this time compared to his previous form. And this Janemba is much more menacing. Like, we see him actually utilizing the portal technique to take one of Goku's ki blasts and direct it back at Goku. And then doing this, I don't know what he's doing, but he's like shifting around Goku's attacks by like turning into like blocks, little blocks, and like shifting off to the side. I don't know what this is, but the animation for it is really cool. I don't like, is there a name for this?
There probably is in the video games. I don't know it off the top of my head, but they usually give these moves names in the games. But it's just cool abilities. Like, Janemba is just freaking cool, man. Like watching them fight it's such a great sequence. There's one moment where Goku like dodges Janemba's slashing tail and he turns on his hand doing almost like a handstand kick to Janemba's face, where then Janemba grabs him by the ankle and throws him. It's the whole sequence is so cool.
According to Google AI, it's either Bunkai Teleport or Phantom Shift.
Okay. I'll take Phantom Shift because Bunkai Teleport sounds like it comes from Bleach or something.
Yeah, Google AI mileage may vary, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an impressive villain. Like, he's doing fun stuff, and now Goku has to deal with the fact that he has an opponent that can throw his blast back at him and can effectively teleport and become like ethereal. And to make things even worse, he decides to just like shape a sword and start using it against Goku. So now he's like wielding a weapon, which is also cool. I love, we don't get nearly enough villains that actually use weapons.
Yeah. There's a moment, like one of the moments where Janemba dodges Goku's ki blast because Goku goes in with like a fistful of ki to smack him with it, which also is fucking cool in itself. But Janemba does that Phantom Shift, like the block teleport, and then teleports just with a hand full of ki right to Goku's chest and detonates it. It's just cool, man. Like, we get to see Janemba do a ki blast out of his mouth, and then he grabs, like you said, Dayton, he grabs this little, it's like a spiky little, I don't know, thing on the ground and turns it into a sword. But we've already kind of seen like the larger Janemba kind of transmute material into his clones. So we've kind of gotten most of these techniques we've seen from the larger Janemba, and the smaller Janemba is just using them in a much more like savage and brutal way. So it's cool that they've already like established these techniques and we're now seeing like the refined version of them from the transformed Janemba.
And like Goku's struggling at this point, and it feels like he should be struggling. This Janemba guy's weird. He's doing outlandish things. Goku even takes a pretty nasty sword strike, it looks like, down like his shoulder. You see like actually a big spray of blood come out, which, you know, love it. Like, let's get a little visceral here. And he's overwhelmed to the point where he actually falls out of Super Saiyan 3. And this is a weird criticism I have, but sometimes in these Dragon Ball movies, they just kind of tell you that the character's tired or that they got beat up and they can't fight anymore, and they don't really convince me. I feel convinced here. I thought this was set up beautifully.
I agree. I want to call out too. There's one sequence right before this happens where Goku shoots a ki blast at Janemba, and Janemba cuts the ki blast in half with the sword, but the lower half still hits Janemba in the stomach, and it gives Goku a chance to like escape and get away. It's just such a cool sequence. But yeah, I agree. Like, once Goku falls out of his Super Saiyan 3 form, he even literally falls out of the sky as Janemba's like shooting these key sword attacks at him, and Goku falls into, I think it's supposed to be like, it's like this big cube or cylinder of blood that Janemba is now like slicing into pieces to get at Goku.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like Goku's about to get cut down, and right before the final slash can be made, Vegeta makes a timely arrival to save our hero and even patronize him a little bit with a, how many times do I have to tell you that if anyone's going to end your existence, it's going to be me? So just arriving unseen in perfect bravado.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great Vegeta line. I love a Vegeta save, so I mean, I'm happy as a Vegeta fanboy here.
I do like that they don't give an explanation of how he knew to be there or how he even got to where they were fighting. And we're okay with that because it's it's our boy. We need him on site.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, like, we could assume that Vegeta maybe like senses the energy of them fighting, right? They're two big powers and stuff. But I think he even says something to the effect of like, don't know how I got my body back, but here I am.
But I mean, Vegeta starts out well, pretty strong. He charges Janemba, and he kind of experiences what Goku was experiencing right off the bat, right? Like, before flinging a ki blast, we see Janemba shift away from him, and Vegeta sees it, and then when Janemba goes to do it again, he figures out how it works and kind of blasts him out of thin air, which one, I thought was cool as hell. And two, I need a goddamn explanation as to why he's able to do that, because you guys just didn't let me know. How did Vegeta figure out how Janemba's shift work?
Yeah, like I get what you mean. I still really like this though, because
I do.
I think one of the reasons I like this is because we've seen in the past that Vegeta is like he's a fighting prodigy, at least when it comes to like tactics, right? So it's interesting to me that Vegeta sees the teleport once and then he's like, "Oh, I have an idea." And he just blasts Janemba the second time that he does it, like basically blasts the space that he teleported out of, which then, causes Janemba to the space where he is teleporting, he comes out blasted by the ki blast. So I like that because Vegeta has. We already know that he's like a prodigy, even though they don't give us a good explanation.
Yeah, I thought it was cool though. And it looks good too, just the way everything's animated and flows together. But I mean, this fight doesn't last long though, because Vegeta is grabbed by a long, stretchy red arm, and he's like flung across this just sky mass of jelly beans and landing in like these spiky ball bushes. It's a weird environment, but
It's cool.
somehow he doesn't get impaled, and Goku actually follows him and finds our diminished Prince of Saiyans, kind of like laying hurt, tired in the spiky ball bush, and offers fusion as a possible way of defeating this monster.
Yeah, yeah. I will say, and I mean, it's probably the bias in me of being the Vegeta fanboy. I'm disappointed at how little time Vegeta gets fighting Janemba. And I mean, maybe maybe it's a good way of indicating just how strong Janemba is, that he takes Vegeta out in no time. But I would have liked to have watched Vegeta fight a little bit more.
I mean, just it's one of those things where, like, Vegeta doesn't win the fight, right? Like, he's a Super Saiyan 2, and Goku couldn't beat him as a Super Saiyan 3, so we know how lopsided this fight is. But Vegeta's still, like you said, a prodigy, and just one or two more moments like him picking out the Phantom Shift like that, and I think everyone would have been happy.
That's kind of what I wanted. Give me another 30 seconds of Vegeta and Janemba fighting, and I would have been more satisfied. But I mean, I will say they aren't wasting our time either. So props to them for that. And of course, as Goku offers up the fusion, Vegeta's like, we even get to me an iconic line of Vegeta being like, "I'll never fuse with you, clown."
I mean, and it doesn't help too that like they're both very prideful. And I mean, Vegeta, I believe we've had multiple moments leading up to this point where Vegeta's made comments about fusion and stuff, like, well, up to this quote unquote point. But we know Vegeta just doesn't like fusion based off of the anime series that we've seen. So
Right.
It makes sense that he continues that trend right here in this movie. And I like that they're consistent with that.
Yes, I agree. But as they're arguing about it, Janemba takes this opportunity he's not going into this spiky ball space, but he basically just takes a finger across in front of him, and we see like this line of light that turns into these jagged, almost like shards of glass, as it breaks and shoots forward, just these dozens of like glass beams attacking our heroes in the spiky ball space. Janemba has so many cool abilities and techniques. They all look fantastic.
And honestly, they all feel like they make sense with what he is. It's this weird kind of blend of magic and I don't know, technique. Like I don't know what it is and why it works so well with him, because on a lot of other characters this might feel out of place, but it just works here.
Yeah, he's just like this strange magic demon thing created from negative energy. Like, I don't really have any questions about why he has the abilities. I just, you just kind of accept it.
Just like Vegeta finally accepts that he needs to fuse if he's to make it out of here. And his reasoning's pretty good, because he does kind of talk about how it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for him, where like if he fuses, he loses his pride, and that's a terrible situation. But also, if he doesn't fuse, then he goes back to hell basically, where he doesn't enjoy life either. So it's he kind of realizes that there's no winning here, so he might as well just go with the option that beats the bad guy.
Yeah, one thing that is a bummer to me, but I mean, I'm not surprised they don't show it. Vegeta is basically lamenting that hell sucks, which I mean, of course, we understand hell is supposed to suck for people who are put in hell. Like we've gotten to see Frieza's hell in Dragon Ball Super,
I
but
had
we
the
don't
same thought.
but we don't get to see what Vegeta's hell looks like. We just hear him saying that it sucks, and he's like, that's the reason why he's like, okay, I'll do the fusion so I don't have to go back to hell right now.
See, I wonder if because he said he got his body back, so was he just like a little wisp in hell just floating around? Like, because that would be pretty miserable, just being able to not do anything as Vegeta.
For him, that could be a hell for sure. Yeah, I don't know. We don't really get to see it, right? So it's like we just kind of get to speculate, which maybe is the reason why they do it too.
But yeah, Vegeta he's on board. Goku shows him the technique, which Vegeta is not thrilled about having to perform ballet with his best bud. But they do perform the dance, and their first fusion result is not great. A large and in charge Goku plus Vegeta fusion arrives to fight Janemba, and for the next 30 minutes, they basically get the crap kicked out of them while farting.
Yeah, I'm so torn on how to feel about this because it's very like it feels very Akira Toriyama, like more like original Dragon Ball. Like it was a comedy manga, and there was a lot of potty humor and stuff. But I don't know. I'm fine with fart jokes. I can't decide if it like lessens the impact of this movie for me, but I don't know. What did you think about it?
I mean, I'm torn because on one hand, I do like that Vegeta specifically, they point out afterwards, is the one who flubbed it up a little bit by not having one of his fingers fully extended. And I like that because it's, it is a complex technique because you have to do it perfectly. And I like that they failed on the first try. That feels good to me. It feels like they're actually working towards something here. But I feel like the fart joke went on for a little too long.
One thing I will say is that, and I think they did this in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, I'm glad they only did the failed fusion once.
Yes.
Instead of, like, we got Fat Gogeta, effectively, which, however you want to view this from 2026 standards and PC culture, that's what they call them. In the Broly movie, they gave us Fat Gogeta and Skinny Gogeta, and it was too much. If they would have given us both in this movie, it would have absolutely been too much. So I'm glad this gag only happens one time.
Yeah, I think it's like one saving grace for me is I can tolerate it just because we need the fusion failing feels appropriate.
Yeah.
And we know that when you fail the fusion, it gets a little goofy. My only thing is just, can we a minute less of the fart jokes and a minute more of the good stuff later?
Yeah, I think I kind of feel the same about it. Actually, though, one of the things that I really like about this is Gogeta in this form, he goes and hides, kind of like, it looks like in the spiky balls that got destroyed, and Janemba finds him. He kind of like grabs one of the spikes and shoots it out, like manipulating the material once more to stab Gogeta. And Gogeta in this form looks scared until the fusion wears off at the very moment they're about to get stabbed, and Goku and Vegeta like split off to either side of this spike and smash Janemba in the face. Every sequence, like every fight sequence in this movie is so cool. I can't get over how good they are.
And it's that little extra attention that maybe didn't even need to be there, but it's definitely appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. This gives Goku and Vegeta a little bit of a reprieve, and they're kind of like, all right, let's try the fusion again. You messed up the finger position. But because well, I mean, Janemba is not going to let them try this again, right? He basically comes in and attacks them, trying to stop them.
Yeah, and so they're not given time to actually do the fusion dance once more. That is until PyCon shows back up, and he tells them that he's going to buy them enough time to get that fusion dance done. And this is where we see him unveil the mean words to hold back the terror that is Janemba. So this is that little joke coming back later.
I like that this comes into play. I like that it gets used against Janemba as a weakness. I wish that it had a little bit more significance, and I think that that's probably the part that you didn't like about this, is that it just doesn't. It should play a bigger role in defeating Janemba, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Like it's, what do they call it? Chekhov's gun or whatever, where if you write something into the story and point at it, it should probably do something. And I feel like this wasn't enough. It feels like a very watered down version of, like, I don't, like TN holding back Cell, but instead of a cool technique that drains you, it's just naughty words.
Yeah, I like it conceptually. I think they could have gone just a little, dialed it up just a little bit more, and I would have liked this a lot, actually.
Yeah,
But
it's close. I mean, its execution could have probably have fixed this for me.
yeah, it's not far off from actually being a really cool beat, but I think it fell a little bit short, unfortunately.
Well, the fusion happens, and guess what? A much more in shape Gogeta is born, and the final battle begins. And I'm gonna let you know right now, Todd, I am a little disappointed in this final battle.
Probably my biggest complaint about this movie is how little Gogeta we get in it, unfortunately.
It's like, it's the whole buildup, right? It's the name of the movie, and we finally get it. And I'll go through my notes here. You let me know if I miss anything. It's basically Gogeta kicks the absolute snot out of Janemba, like with a flurry of blows, and then we see him summon a rainbow ball of energy and toss it into Janemba, who punches Gogeta in the face, who no sells it, so points there. And then after a delay, like disintegrates into like nothing and reforms as the negligent worker who had been transformed into Janemba. And that's it.
I think so. I think there might be a kick in there. Or no, it's a double knee to the head, which admittedly looks cool. It's a double knee to the head to a kick. That's what it was. And then the ball. So there's a tiny bit more fighting, but it's not enough Gogeta. This movie needs more Gogeta.
And that's, man, I really wanted more Gogeta. Like, for me, this is probably the lowest point of the movie, because I feel like you built this up so much, and I just wanted to see, even if he was just styling on Janemba for a couple of minutes, I would be down with that. But there's no real battle here. It's a completely lopsided ending where we get this really cool character introduced, because I actually like the introduction of Gogeta here. I think it's kind of cool. I might like this more. Do I like this more than the introduction of Vegito? It's tough, because I'm gonna not weigh the actual fight. I'm just gonna weigh the introduction. And
yeah,
man, it's interesting.
that's tough.
I don't know. They're probably about on par.
I think so. I think they're close in that regard. I will say that, yeah, that is almost certainly my biggest complaint about this movie, is how little Gogeta is in it. He's truly in it for maybe 90 seconds or something. And one of the things that I love the most, well, one of the things that the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie did for the fan base is give us more Gogeta, because the fan base desperately wanted more Gogeta.
Yeah, the Broly movie Gogeta is excellent. Like that was actually kind of a redemption for Gogeta, and actually no, Vegito did some cool stuff to Boo, like with the spirit sword and stuff like that. Like there's definitely some respect points there.
Yeah, Vegito gets plenty of time to shine. Gogeta does not. He genuinely gets about 90 seconds, which his 90 seconds are fucking cool. I'm not like, his I mean him basically just like floating forward and getting those invisible punches on Janemba's torso, and then like the double knee of him just being like floating in the air and like knee and then kicking him in the jaw looks great. And then the his final attack, which has a couple of different names, I think one of them is called like the Soul Destroyer or Soul Punisher or something,
Does
but
he
it's
say
the
that? I don't remember there being a name for that.
he doesn't. Again, I'm kind of pulling from like Dragon Ball, like the knowledge books and the games. They that's the only reason I know the name of this thing at
Okay.
all. Um, but I that's one of the names. It also has some other name that's like I don't know, Rainbow something or other. I can't remember. Um, it actually has some cool names to it though, and it looks cool. He gets collects like this rainbow ball of ki, and it turns to like almost like sparkling glitter that he throws at Janemba, and then Janemba almost like disintegrates into sparkling glitter. All of it looks super cool. It's super unique for a key attack. It's I mean it's not just another different colored beam or ball. Um, every part of it is cool. It's just not enough Gogeta.
No, no, not for being the point of the movie.
Right.
Like, and I mean, it's, I suppose that's an okay problem to have because I mean, up to this point, we've actually gotten a lot of good fighting. We've actually had some okay choreography. And animation quality has actually been pretty decent, especially compared to the other Dragon Ball movies we've seen. The end being a little lackluster. I think the only reason why I'm disappointed or so disappointed in this ending is because we didn't get uh Gogeta until now. Um
Right.
like if this was the final fight and it was just Goku Super Saiyan 3, I'd be like, whatever, we got a bunch of other good stuff. But we truly don't get really any time with Gogeta, and it's such a shame. If they fix that, I think you truly have something really fun here as far as the movie goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's my biggest complaint about this one. Um, I guess we could probably wrap
Yeah,
up
say
the
there's just a
last tail
couple other
bit.
things because with Janemma defeated, we see that order is restored. We see that the data return to where they belong, including Vegeta, which Goku gives him actually a little bit of a heartfelt goodbye, like goodbye, friend, as he turns into like a spirit and his body kind of vanishes away. So I thought that was actually pretty well done. Goten and Trunks tease Gohan over the fact that they saw him kissing Videl, and Shenron is still waiting for someone to make a damn wish.
Yeah, yeah. I do like that they use the ghost kamikaze to get rid of. It's there's something funny about using ghosts to get rid of the ghosts of the dead. Um, but also it's just a good technique that they spew out a bunch of ghosts and they beat all the undead, all the Hitler and all of his tanks and soldiers. So back to hell with you, Hitler. Um, and I like the moment with Vegeta and like watching Vegeta kind of like wisp away as a spirit. Um, and yeah, we kind of see like the check-in station with Yama or yeah, Yama. I always get it mixed up with his Japanese name, Enma. Um, and it's pretty much roll credits from there as Goku returns back to the other world to presumably go beat the shit out of Pikkon.
And I mean, it's honestly by the end of this, I was just like, that was a fun movie. Like, I actually had a pretty good time watching this one. Are there holes in it? Absolutely. But all the stuff that matters, which is being entertained, it kind of hit on for me. The pacing was pretty good. Once things got going, they kept going. And the main villain, while like character wise, they don't really do anything with him. He doesn't say anything other than Janemba, right? Like we don't really know what his motivations are. He's just weird. But I'm okay with that because they put all the effort into making the fighting interactions with him interesting. And like, yeah, I don't know what else to say other than this feels like really decent junk food.
Yeah, I I was real curious to hear your take on this one. This to me in the original run of Dragon Ball Z movies is probably the best one. And it's because, like you said, Janemba doesn't have a lot of story. They don't do a lot with his motivations and stuff, but it's literally a 50-minute movie. You don't have a lot of time to get into that stuff. If you just give me an interesting premise, which I think Janemba has, of him just being born of this negative spirit energy from the cleansing machine, and he's just causing destruction and needs to be stopped. That's all I need to know. You gave me that in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then you give me awesome action with really cool techniques from this villain. I'm 1000% on board. The only thing you need to give me more was more Gogeta, and then this would be a borderline perfect movie for me.
Well, and just looking at Janemba, like he easily makes it into my top 5 interesting characters to watch fight. His techniques are unique. He fights differently than other people, and his, like, I guess you could call it 2 stages, are very different from each other, right? Like the way he fights when he's in big baby form is very different than when he turns into his anime villain form. So I like that we do get a contrasting character. It's not like, say, like when Frieza transformed, you didn't really notice as much of a fighting style difference between his transformations, right? It just seemed like he got more or less more powerful. Maybe his like form changed a little bit, or his size would change a little bit. Maybe he was a little bit more like brute strengthy when he was in the bigger forms, but it wasn't drastically different like we see with Janemba.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I did want to touch on, and I didn't want to bring this up before you watching it and everything, but we've talked about before where a lot of the movies will kind of parallel or take details from the original manga or anime, and that's basically what they're based off of. Whether that be like Turles and the Tree of Might with like the Saiyans, or obviously Cooler with Frieza. This one, especially given like the time frame, if you look at Janemba, looking at his first form and then looking at his second form, is very clearly a parallel to Majin Buu, like Fat Buu, and then probably like Super Buu, effectively, right? Um, what do you think about it with that lens, Dayton, where like it's clear that this is taking a lot from the Boo arc, but is also kind of trying to do its own thing?
I mean, yeah, now that you say that, I definitely see it much more clearly now. Like that's definitely there. Um, yeah. Do I mind? I don't know if I mind though. And I say that because the vibe between Boo and Janemba is way different. And so even though they are, I feel like they're 2 different takes on the same story, and I'm fine with both of them existing. I don't think they tread on each other's toes too much, other than the spoiling fusion. Kind of a
Yeah.
bad call, but outside of that, the actual characters themselves in the story, I mean, if anything, I wish we had more time to develop Janemba and turn it into its own actual story. Because when you're just trying to jam one of these movies out the door, you probably don't have time to do all the deep dive into the character and the lore that they need to set everything up. It probably is just a lot easier to go, all right, what stories do we have? We'll just do something like that.
Yeah, that's probably a big part of the reason why they make a lot of parallels to the anime and the manga. And yeah, I think I agree. Like it's very clear in terms of like character designs that Janemba is influenced by Boo, and even some of the powers, like the fact that his body can basically turn to like jello when it gets hit, and the fact that he can stretch his arm and stuff like that. But even really beyond that, he has so many unique techniques that are so interesting to watch. And I'm trying to think of like other characters that even have techniques similar to his, and I'm kind of drawing a blank. I'm sure there are some that I'm failing to think of, but he's just so much fun to see on the screen. Like anytime that he's fighting, I'm fully engaged, and I want to see more, and I want to know what he's going to do next.
Well, in Janemba's second form, it's very different than Kid Buu or Super Boo's fighting style. Like
True.
I would say the big like Fat Buu and Fat Janemba, I think there's a number of parallels you could maybe draw to how they do things. Like Boo can transform things into chocolate or whatever. He was transforming uh things by touching them. There's actually a moment where Big Boo gets like blown up. We see him turn into a bunch of little Boos and then come back together. Kind of makes me think of all the little Janembas that he made. Like I think there's a number of parallels you can draw between the much more childlike Boo and the much more childlike Janemba. But I can't draw nearly as many parallels between any of the other Boos and Janemba's second form. Like that second form feels very unique to itself in the way that it fights and the way that it acts.
I could agree with that. The only parallels that I can think to draw, I mean, obviously the character design. I mean, even the character design is like of course it's a lot of the bad guys end up being like lean, muscular builds, but beyond that, the design looks significantly different than Super Boo. Um, he is kind of like his personality is maybe a little bit akin to Kid Boo in that he's just like he's kind of fun, he's kind of chaotic. But even that is different, particularly when you take into account how he fights, which I think is the point that you made in that the way he fights is entirely different from any of the forms of Boo, honestly. Um, which makes him I like Janemba a lot. He's just so much fun.
Yeah, and that's my thing is I can find 100 holes in the story. I can find a bunch of moments where the animation was maybe lacking at a certain like. There's so many holes in this movie that you can find if you want, but the actual meat of it, which is fighting a cool bad guy, I think they knocked it out of the park. Janema's interesting. We get plenty of scenes that are animated well, like even the Kamehameha wave that Goku used against Janemba early on. The animation for it's actually pretty decent if you go back and rewatch it. Like they actually put some effort into it, and so. His Super Saiyan 3 transformation is glowed up a little bit, so that looked good. It's just all these little things, all these little bugaboos that I've had with previous movies where they gloss over something that should kind of be important or some more attention should be paid to it. I feel like they checked a lot of those boxes, man. Like this, it feels like there was a little bit more effort put into the more important parts of this movie because like the story doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like when does it happen? Who knows? What are the ramifications of it? I guess none. But does that matter? No, it's a non-canon thing. So who cares if the story's good or bad? I'm just here for a good fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like we kind of have to take this in the context with which it was created and presented to us, which is a non-canon movie that is kind of like an alternate universe potentially. So like the time frame is it's a real weird time frame. Um and it only has 50 minutes to present us with a story. So I like that they basically just this is the villain, this is how they were created. They have no backstory. They're going to be really cool to watch.
Yeah, I don't know if we got a remake of this movie with even more budget and modern animation styles, I think it could be absolutely excellent. Like a full hour and a half release would be and you could actually build up Janemba a little bit so that way we have more context as to why he acts the way he is and maybe a little less Hitler and weird stuff happening.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean we basically got Broly from the movies brought back and created canon, right, in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, and he got put in the manga and whatnot. So people have talked about and kind of like speculated what would be another movie villain that you would like to see brought back and pulled into the canon. And I think the two biggest candidates are usually Cooler and Janemba.
Ooh, what's your choice between those two? If you had to pick one to come back.
Man, it's hard because I think narratively I like Cooler a good bit, but like visually and fighting and technique wise, I like Janemba way more. I think honestly, I would pick Janemba mostly because we've gotten so much Frieza over the years, and Cooler is kind of just more Frieza. Like I love Frieza, and he's basically just connected to Frieza, but Janemba is like he's just like his own thing. Even if he has these small parallels to Majin Buu with like character design and stuff, I think there's a lot that you can do with how he was created with like the negative spirit energy, and I think it could be a really interesting narrative if you fleshed it out a bit more.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. For me, it's almost a no-brainer for me, even though I like Cooler a lot too. I like any character that just looks cool. But we have so much more to build off of with Janemba. And we know that with like the Broly movie, they revamped his backstory a bit, right? They gave him more motivations, they put some more characters in play, and I think they did an excellent job with it. If we can get that same treatment with Janemba and then also have such an interesting character to work off of as a base, man, like a Broly level movie with Janemba would be the coolest friggin' thing.
It's funny though, because you basically can't do the same. You can't have Gogeta versus Janemba again, because we've already basically brought Gogeta back and thrown him in against Broly. So you'd kind of have to do something different, which I like, actually. I would like to see the problem that is Janemba solved in a different way.
Oh yeah, so you're even kind of watching to the end and be like, all right, how do they solve it this time? Because it's probably all up in the air, because you're right, they can't do the same thing twice in a row.
Yeah, not only can you not, like, should you not repeat, Gogeta being the solution for the Janemba movie to a new Janemba movie, but you already took Gogeta in the modern era and used him as a solution for Broly. So you can't repeat that a second time. So they'd have to do something different, which makes me more interested to see how they solve the problem.
Yeah. Give me more Janemba. One of the most interesting villains that we have in Dragon Ball. And unfortunately, he's in a throwaway flick. Oh, it's such a... Man, bring him back. There's so much potential there. Like, if anyone's listening this with any pull, bring back Janemba. I'm all for it.
Yes. Yeah. I think you have everybody on Instant Transmission says more Janemba. So
Heck yeah. All right, I think that's all I got to say about this movie, though. I had a good time. Janemba's fun. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it.
Yeah, I very much agree. It is, without question, my favorite of the original 13 Dragon Ball Z movies.
I don't know if it's my favorite. We'll have to find out because we're getting pretty close to doing a full original run DBZ movie breakdown here. I think we only got, one or two left?
This is movie number 12. There's only 13 movies, so we've got one more movie, and then I think we'll probably be ranking all of them in some
excited
form
for that.
or fashion. Yeah.
And every time we do those, I start looking at this stuff, and I actually kind of surprise myself with how I feel about everything overall. Once I get it all into context, go, all right, who are the winners, who are the losers, and who are the surprises? Because there's some movies I look back on and be like, you know what, that might have been better than I remembered. Or I forgot how good that movie was. I'm going to go rewatch it.
Yeah, that could be really fun. It'll be interesting to either do, I don't know, we'll have to figure out the format if we're doing a tier list, or because, you and I, we might feel differently about it too. So we'll have to see.
But I think I know what we're doing. I think I know what we're doing. I'll tell you. I'll tell you later.
Excellent. But I think that's going to be it for this episode of Instant Transmission, where we discuss everything Dragon Ball. This has been your host, Todd.
And Dayton.
Don't forget, we're on Patreon and Discord. If you want to make our containers of spirit energy overflow and burst, you can find us. You can find us at patreon.com/ITDBpodcast. The Discord link will be in the episode description, but you can also find it and all our other links at linktree/ITDBpodcast. Thank you all so much for your support. Be sure to join us next time as we discuss new projects in Dragon Ball in 2026 with our coverage of the very first Genki Tama Festival.
Woo-hoo!
Dragon Ball is announcing a new game and 2 other projects. Could these be movies or perhaps the return of the Dragon Ball Super anime? We're going to cover it all in detail, so be sure to check that out. Also, due to our recording schedule, you may have already heard the Genki Dama Festival episode, in which case your guess is as good as mine as to what episode is going to be next. But will we get a Janemba remake movie? Or will the anime come back to cover the Moro and Granola arcs from the manga? Or last, will the next game be Master Roshi's Beach Volleyball? Find out next time. And to all our fellow Dragon Ball fans, stay safe out there, and remember to keep rocking the dragon.
Wrong slider. Man, just nailing it tonight.
I was like, what's going on over there? That's longer than usual.
Like, I'm playing with the thing and it's not working.
Well, you got to play with your thing harder.